Hustle. Every day, all day. This is how we roll. This is 97.9, the BOX.
Good morning, 97.9 The Box. Good morning, H-Town Radio Boss, hard by the Kiotti. Today, a very, very special. And fix my hat for this one, boy. We got some special brothers on here this morning. All right. University of Houston. Man, I got all the coaches. I feel like I'm gonna sign up for the league or something like that. How y'all doing this morning, brothers?
Good.
Doing good.
Man, so listen. One thing that I know coming from Houston is when people say whose house, you're supposed to say Cool's house. I don't know where that started from, but I know when I hear that, I know what we are supposed to say. So good morning to you, brothers. Whose house? Cool's house. I'm officially I'm like a part-time member. Somebody need to bless me into the Cougar Society. You know what I'm saying? Give me an honorary scholarship or something like that. There's a lot going on in our country right now, man. COVID-19 seems to be dominating the news. A lot of our local area schools, even for, you guys, of course, being coaches at U of H. I saw this morning they had the protocols for some of the other independent school districts opening up. For the University of Houston, is there any plan for the rollout of will athletes be able to contact, or how is that rolling out?
Here, you're head coach Leroy Burrell.
It's a sport by sport issue, because there's a different timetable per sport. At least that's how we're doing now. So really, the first sports that are going to get back to normal activity will be football, volleyball, and soccer, because they're fall sports. Of course, we coach track, which is a winter and a spring sport concurrently. And so we have a couple of football staff members on, and they can tell you a little bit about what's going on with them.
Okay.
So right now, we got our incoming freshmen. They just made it on campus July 6th, the 2020 class.
Okay.
Prior to, we already had our guys that's on the team already. That's they've been in workouts. We had to shut it down for a little bit. A couple guys got contracted the virus, so we we did what's best for them. We shut it down and got guys tested, and they quarantined for a little bit. But it's up in the air, man. You don't know. It's the unknown. So we're doing everything we possibly can to keep our kids safe and educating them with please wearing a mask every time you step out. To the point now is you don't want to go anywhere. You want to house. You want them to be safe and be around each other, because we testing our kids almost twice a week now. So
Wow.
Yeah.
That's strong, Coach Carey. I think that's great. I ain't know, boy. Y'all getting tested twice a week, boy. Y'all are safe over there. I feel good now. Okay, I see what's going on. Now, one thing that I really wanted to sit down, kind of discuss with you, brothers, because at the end of the day, the racial climate is it's a little different. This 2020 been one of them years, coaches, where it's been kind of like, ooh, we getting to look at some of the real race-related issues in our country. And of course, with you brothers being brothers at the University of Houston, one of the most diverse cities in America, of course, is Houston. So even for, some of your athletes that I'm sure you've seen some of them at protests and other different things like that moving around, letting their voice be heard. How have you guys, dealt with that, as head coaches to a lot of these young brothers who look at you guys like father figures, for a lot of us that come from inner city communities, sometimes the fathers weren't there. So to have you guys as mentors and, hey, no, don't do that, son. Yeah, you're right for that. How's that been? How's the process been during this racial climate in our country?
Well, I mean, as a head coach, it's been a bit challenging, primarily because we're not physically engaged with our athletes. When the COVID situation came to light back in March, basically we pretty much disbanded. The kids who could go home went home. The kids who had nowhere else to go stayed on campus, and then we kind of attended to them. Coaches couldn't go in and work in the office, couldn't meet can't practice, can't train, so basically all of that was shut down. And so I think in that environment, a lot of athletes, had a lot of opportunity kind of think about, what's going on in their lives. And then all of a sudden this thing with George Floyd blows up, and then all of the other things that surrounded it came to play. But all during that time, all of us were maintaining contact with our athletes, of course, by phone, video call, conferencing, Zoom, all the stuff that we're all using. And basically talking about, okay, keep your grades up, keep going to school, because they still had to do that. And then summertime hits, and then that kind of goes away. And then here, this whole thing ramps up. But in general, at least with our athletes, we've encouraged them to utilize their voice in a responsible manner. Some of our athletes have a pretty solid platform and are pretty intuitive and intelligent and can, kind of voice themselves really well, voice their opinions really well. A lot of our athletes did take part in some of the protests, and as well they should. And so that's really been my MO, and I mean, I personally have been out there because I have some other things that prevent me from being in the crowd. I'm not trying to get the corona myself. But my sons have been, our athletes have been, and I think they should, because I think a revolution generally starts with some of the younger people. But true. I think I and Coach Lewis have encouraged our athletes to not only go out and make some noise, but you have to go and start working on the paper side of this. Meaning you need to register to vote. You need to take part in the political process. You need to join some activist groups. You need to find out what's available for you out there, so you can continue to educate yourself, so you know what needs to be done, not just make a whole bunch of noise.
Right, yeah. Coach Lewis, I was just going to ask.
Yeah, and to add on to what Coach Burrell and Leroy was talking about, is that we're in a unique situation in Houston, because as you see, not only is it racial unrest around the country and this protesting in the power, and also putting the public in a position where they need to show more empathy. I mean, I go back, I was born in Birmingham, and I go back to Bull Connor back in the 60s, hosing people down the street. Well, we didn't get action until everyone else saw that. And I think that's what George Floyd represented. He represented that. And being from Houston, and at the University of Houston, a school that always pushed for diversity back in the 60s, if you notice, so many schools are having this big discussion about race on their campus. And then we're finally, before it was like, oh, you're that third ward school, you're that, everything that they tried to say to talk U of H down, now we're the school that is far out in front. The things that we did, how we reached out to all communities. Our city's the most diverse city. So that's basically the things that brought us here, is what makes us prouder and gives our athletes more of a forum to say it, because we've already been walking that walk.
And I also want to mention this too, just as a head coach. See, we're kind of fortunate in our sport that we can oftentimes go to a competition and utilize some time to go out and see some things and do some things. Well, our conference meet is in Birmingham, Alabama every year. Well, we made it a point on several occasions to go to the Civil Rights Museum there while we were there. We also talk about some of these things on a regular basis in our regular team meetings. Because I'm an African American coach. So that forum allows me to do that, and I have some awareness about that as well. This is nothing new for us. Discussing some of these issues. Now, I think it might be new to some other coaches, because of their situations, but for us, it hasn't been.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So it's interesting, because it is funny because Leroy's that African American coach that's leader. I'm that African American coach that's that crazy uncle. So like, oh, here's Uncle Carl again. He coming in talking smack. So they're getting all of it, and we took everyone went. The white kids went and everything, because you have to get to where they can't just say I'm not racist anymore. They have to show empathy and have action in what they do. You can't. The days of just I'm not racist is over, because you have benefited. Every single person of you have benefited from racism today. So you can't just say I'm not racist. You have to say, well, I have to fight against my predisposed benefit as well. And that's what reparations and these ideas, creating equality from racism. And that's what, that's something that we have to be very clear about, everyone. So it's important for white people to know too, because they, you can't sit back anymore and just say, oh, no, I'm not racist. Yeah, but you're benefiting from racism. So therefore you're racial. So until you get to that point, we're not going to get to where we need to be.
Coach Lewis, Coach Burrell, for me, and for some people, they may not get the correlation, but I want to say one of my first memories of civil rights activists on a large scale was through track and field. Brother Tommy Smith and John Carlos and the polls, whenever they won and they stood like that, for a lot of people, they had never saw that before. They were like, oh my, these brothers is tripping, y'all. They is on national TV with black fists and the gloves, and so track, for some of us, we understood how the power of sports would help motivate people and push a discussion forward. Because after they did it, believe me, people was having real discussions in their house about race and race relations, and that's one of the powers of sports. So even now, just looking, and when some of your athletes are coming and saying, "Hey, coach, this is how I'm feeling, Uncle Carl, this is what I really want to say online. Coach Carrier, listen, I'm kind of upset right now. How are you kind of mentoring these brothers through some of those conversations? Because we know we live in a society where if you say the wrong thing and express it the wrong way, there could be backlash and there could be issues. You know what I'm saying? So how do you navigate some of these young athletes through those conversations and through those emotions?
Well, for me personally, I'm that inner city kid. I went to Worthing High School.
Yeah.
So a police car pulling up behind me is a little different. I get different feelings about it. My wife actually went to West Side. She never dealt with that type of thing before. So when I talk to our kids, you gotta educate them on every aspect. It's about it's about making it home. It's also about knowing your rights. So one thing God did for us doing this quarantine is put everybody on pause, and he put them on social media so we can see what happened to George Floyd.
Right.
With that happening, look what happened, man. The whole world is at attention. We're doing more research now, and then I'm not just talking about us older. I ain't that old, but
no, you good, coach. You good.
That would be me.
Our players. So one of the first things I did, I sent out a group text message, and I'm just like, hey fellas, I'm here. You want to talk about it? You've been through it. Let's talk. And you'll be surprised, man. These kids, they've been through it. It's a lot what Coach Hogan say. Like, look, we can yell at them, we can coach them hard, but you're gonna have to love them up. You got to understand where they're from. So, one thing we did do, we open it up. We let them talk. They want to vent to you. They can come talk to you. Of course, it had to be FaceTime or Zoom, which I did a lot of it on Zoom, and just let them vent, let them talk, man. That's the biggest thing.
Right.
Uncle Carl, you got anything to say, Uncle Carl? I'm just quiet.
Well, I think the thing about it is that they need some content, and it's interesting because when I grew up in the 60s, I was born in 61. And so when I was being raised, my parents were involved in the civil rights movement. So I was being raised with that concept and with that idea of how, just like Tyrone said, I've been stopped, I've been doing all that stuff. So I did that. And then of course, when my son came along, I talked that way. And I think that we got to a point where a lot of kids now were so far away from that moment. And I think that's why it's so important that they have a chance to not only do this, but to witness this. I mean, I was kind of jealous in the 80s that I couldn't have been a part of a movement like that because I was so young. But now I'm the older person, and it's seeing that they have this chance. And the thing about it is that kids are always going to change, they evolve, and we change too as we get older. And I think it's good to see them finding something because, 2016, the young people haven't voted. They just have not been voting, and they're being affected the most by these issues. So I think the most exciting thing is that I think now there's something that they're starting to make a correlation, because this guy's in the White House, and what he's done is he said racism, it's okay to talk about it. It's fine. You can be racist and say what you want now, you know, because I am, and you can go out. And now all of a sudden they're saying, wow, just that alone is affecting my life. Because the first executive order he did was to raise interest rates on student loans. So he immediately went after students, and that's us, because we need Pell Grants and loans, because they don't want us educated, because they don't want us to get the jobs, a part of the racist idea. So I think that that's the good thing about it. They see not only are they marching and understanding these issues, especially of color, but understand how their power is there to make a difference. Because if they can take that marching and march to the voting box, then we won't have people like that in the first place.
Right. Growing up in the 60s, and then now we're thinking about, like, listen, it is 2020. Is it crazy, mind-blowing, boggling to you that we still are dealing with this blatant racism? Like, for me, that's just like, I remember like being in school and hearing about civil rights movement. Now we're living inside of a civil rights movement. So for me, that's just I'm like, my son is 7, my daughter is 11. I have to explain to them what racism is and what to do if you get pulled over. And hey, y'all, at school, some of the kids might call you names. And if they call you the names, you have to react like this, because if you do this, they're gonna, you know, these are kids. It's 2020, y'all. We almost by the Jetsons. We supposed to be floating around this thing in a few years, and I'm still explaining to them what racism is. That is crazy to me.
Well, you know, I think one issue. Well, first of all, I'm a 67, so I was kind of born in 67, so I was kind of after that.
Okay.
You know, I think that I mean, people of color, Africans, Native Americans, you know, have been subjugated and discriminated against for 500, 600 years. You know, so
True.
you can't. And basically, it was for several reasons. I'm not a historian, but for several reasons. You know, some was turmoil in those individual societies in Africa. Some of it was basically spreading disease in other societies. You know, not purposefully, but that's what happened. You know, and some genocide. It's been. I mean, there've been numerous historical events where one group has subjugated another or perpetrated racist or discrimination against another.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of been an ongoing part of human history. You know, we're kind of in a situation, at least in this country, where it's all right here. You know, some people were bought here, some people were here before, some people came here and took over the land here. You know, and it's created a real unique situation. And I think advances have been made, and don't get me wrong, I'm using the word advancement very, very, very lightly, over time. You know, and they gotten to a point where they've been made where some people felt comfortable. No, but that hasn't eliminated racism. You know, but that's not necessarily. I don't personally think it's something that you can program. You know, I don't think it's something that you can. I think it's something that you can educate yourself on, and you have to kind of teach yourself. And I think it's up to each individual, you know, to eliminate the racist tendencies that we have in our heart. Because even among us, you know, and we were just talking about this briefly before you came on. You know, we kind of feel comfortable among ourselves, right? You know, but unfortunately, if you're a minority and you feel most comfortable among yourselves, you start doing things among yourselves in your group. You know, that's seen as working against the system. You know, so that's something that one. The majority group has to work on itself to say, you know what, if they want to kind of being themselves, that's fine. Let's give them the resources and support to do that. But if they want to kind of merge with the group, then that's fine. Then let's give them the resources to do that. You know, there just has to be a little bit of empathy, you know, I think among the majority group, you know, to work with the minority groups, you know, to incorporate themselves more into society. You know, and I think that's incumbent upon us a bit as well, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think where it starts is that the majority has to admit that racism is baked into the system, and they benefited from it every day. If you hear people say, you hear the word reparation, they're going to say, well, I wasn't a slave owner. I didn't hold slaves. Well, guess what? You're benefiting this moment from slavery because the policy was set in. It was easy to see us because we're a different skin color. And then everything, whether it's block busting, housing,
redlining,
just go through
redlining, gentrification.
Yeah,
right.
everything. See, that's all baked into the system, and most people don't even realize they're benefiting from that part of it. And so you have to admit, you know what? I didn't think about that, but all of these things we do, we benefit from. Places, I lived in New Jersey and for a long time. And when I moved back there for a while, I realized that white flight, and believe it or not, white flight, the name came from a lawsuit in my hometown. It started at about 9%. So what you do is you get a neighborhood, and then upwardly mobile African Americans or Indians or Asians, whoever want to move into the neighborhood, they do. When a certain amount move there, then they start block busting, everyone moves away, and then they say, well, they can't get their neighborhood together because you don't want to live with them. So that's your racism baked in already, but you won't even admit, I don't want to live with you. And the reason, because I don't want to live around people because you're going to tear up our neighborhood and everything else. No, everyone wants to move up and bring themselves up. But the bottom line is that you have to admit that you're benefiting from racist policies before you can get people to change.
That's super true. Just, it's funny you said that. We were riding through my neighborhood the other day, and I'm like, man, it seemed like a lot of people moving out. But again,
there it is.
When I started looking, I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. You know, it's crazy. And a lot of us are moving in. And let me not even say a lot of us, but just you start looking around and you're like, okay, cool. But then you understand, okay, well, hey.
Let's flip that though. And I want to be careful here. No, now we see a situation now. We see a situation now. Okay, well, I'm gonna talk the talk because I think part of us, like I said, we all have to change in our hearts. Now our Univeristy is in Third Ward. All right, Third Ward's a historically black neighborhood. All right. Matter of fact, it was designated that way.
True.
And now there have been a lot of white folks moving into the Third Ward. All right, and we call that gentrification, right?
Right.
Correct.
And a lot of people are uncomfortable with that, because they're like, wait a minute, you're coming taking over our area. Right? But see, the deal is, if you're going to be anti-racist, it works both ways.
Yeah.
If they want to move back into the hood because it's in a good area, then we have to say, okay. But see, sometimes we don't necessarily want to do that, because it seems the antithesis of what we really want to see happen. But when it happens, when one of us moves out to another area where they live, and then they move out, then we're like, well, wait, what's going on? What's going on? Well, it works both ways. And I'll call you.
Yeah, I do, because I live in Third Ward, and here's what happens. And I'm with you on that, but we have to be able to not be unfair with loans, because one of the reasons the neighborhoods go down is because they can't get loans, they can't upgrade, they can't own. So therefore, if we were able, if loans and housing ownership was accessible to people of color, to African Americans, then our neighborhoods, even like a Third Ward, wouldn't go down to have to be regentrification in the first place. So therefore, we need to say, well, turn around. Let's not worry about keeping it, but we are getting policies where we're making it more accessible for us to own these places so that we can keep them up. And that's what happens. You go and you move away, and then you don't give them loans, you don't give them opportunity to own anything, and then the neighborhood goes down. And then, of course, the racism with jobs, because our unemployment rate is like 15%. And so then you say, you can't keep your neighborhood. Well, guess what? You didn't let us own, you didn't give us a job. And then when you're in schools, you turn around and you send kids to detention 5 times or so more. And then therefore, by the time they're 11th grade, they're already considered. You have police in the schools arresting black kids, and then it's on their record, so they can't get to good schools, they can't go to college, and then they end up in, it's all of that stuff happens.
It's a vicious cycle.
That's what we have to. That's
systematic oppression.
Yeah, we have to focus on that, but they have to admit that that's what's going on, and have to admit their privilege, and it's not easy to admit their privilege. And so we in sports get here. It's just like anything, in sports, it's pretty clear cut. Someone's better, especially in football or basketball or track. Someone's better, and they have to admit, well, homeboy's faster than me. Well, just think if white kids came in there and they're like, no, I'm not admitting you're faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make your distance more. I'm going to mess up your lane. I'm going to make the timing thing, and then I win the race. And we're sitting there saying, wait, we're in a wrong lane. We're in a bad lane, but you're always complaining because you can't win. That's really what it comes down to. And so they have to admit that part of it. And then I think that, and then we can step into that role of saying that we're going to get upwardly mobile because now we can acquire wealth and pass that wealth on through generations.
Uncle
But I
Carl,
love
boy.
third ward. I love it. I'm over here. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, you definitely could see a little difference. I saw a story on the news. They had the explosion at Bar 5015, which is back open by now, Black Restaurant Week. And when I was looking at the neighbors on the news, I was like, oh, them ain't no brothers. They were like, oh my God, our neighborhood, we felt that. I was like, okay. And you could see it, because especially growing up in Houston, we understand that Third Ward has been historically a Black area. You know what I'm saying? Even all the way back to Jack Yates. And whenever they set up Freedman's Town and they put us in certain areas, Coach Burrell. So that's definitely true. You know, one thing we said on the radio, and it turned out to be a great opportunity for us to have open, honest conversation, was that, you know, right now during this time of racial awakening, we'll call it that, some of our white friends got questions. And they want to ask us, but, you know, they can't ask us, and when they ask us, we turn up on them. You know what I'm saying? You got to be open to answer the questions without turning it into a distraction. Like, I can't believe you asked me this. I can't believe you that. So even dealing with some of your athletes, because again, Houston is a very diverse city. Is it difficult? Because of course, and you kind of answered a little bit saying, no, we even take our white students, whoever, we go visit the Civil Rights Museum. Is it hard having that conversation from a coach's standpoint? Because you almost, some kids, you guys know, they've never dealt with this situation at all. So for them to be having to deal with like open, like, oh my God, I've been listening to the Migos all my life and they say the N-word. So when I rap, I'm singing the words that they rap. I don't think I'm a racist, you know, but just really being around that and having to, again, help these students narrate through it. How has that process been?
I can tell you this. You know, the great thing about sports, you're around just about every race, especially with football. You know what I'm saying? It's a huge locker room. So we don't really have those problems as much. You know what I mean? Because they've been playing with each other for years. They've been on the team with a Black kid for years. Been on the team with a Black kid for years. You know, and you kind of get to the point where you notice like some of the white kids love Amigos more than the Black kids. So it gets to a point where, you know, especially in football, I'm gonna just speak for football, that you're around, I mean, y'all practically, especially during the season or doing camp, you're around each other so much that you kind of already know, you know, you don't really have to ask any questions, because when we had these meetings and we talking to the senior council, like, I mean, it was more white kids pissed off than anything. You know, they knew, they seen what happened to George, and they were pissed off about it. You know, they wanted to get ready and go march right then and there. So football is a little different, because those guys basically grow up with each other, played on Pop Warner teams with each other, and they've been around the different culture their whole life. So.
Yeah, and I'd love to speak up on that, because I know one thing football has brought a lot of, you know, it teaches you how to face adversity, you know, when you're facing that with your teammate, which may be a different ethnicity. Also, you know, your hard work, you're working hard together, you're also accomplishing goals together. So I think you kind of feel a relationship based on the work ethic and the sweat and the blood and tears you put in together. And I think that kind of bonds those athletes together. And I wish America was like that. If everybody could go through a two-a-day, you know, and actually go through the sweat, go through the adversity. Oh, you ain't finished the line. Everybody have to start over. I believe things like that, and just kind of opens everybody's eyes open to be able to see how different people perceive things, and open up to better relationships, you know? So
that's it.
I always say, I feel like the two things that probably unite people more than anything in our country, one is music, and then the other is sports. You know what I'm saying? You may not have a glimpse of, you know, what it's like to be Black, but you see LeBron James saying, I'm more than an athlete, or you see some of these other athletes doing things on a national level, and it kind of just, okay, well, goddamn, well, if LeBron said that, I like LeBron, you know what I'm saying? Okay, well, I listened to Jay-Z, or he said, invest in this and credit and money, you know, so it's one of them things, man. I genuinely appreciate this open and honest conversation with you brothers. You know, it's very rare you have a university as big as the University of Houston And they got brothers in that thing coaching and holding that bar up high, man. So, you know, for all of you guys, I definitely appreciate you. If I one quick question, if I go through your playlist right now, and I'm not judging nobody, listen, there's no judgment in this. If I go through your playlist right now, Coach Carrier, we'll start with you. Give me one thing in your playlist right now, brother.
Is you want H-Town?
Let's see. Now you went to Word, and you know, just give me anything. I'll take anything you got. Just give me one artist in your playlist right now.
So you know, I went to Word, so I was jamming Flip this morning. Little Flip this morning. Kiki.
Coach Carrier, you all right with me, brother? Let me.
H-Town.
When this quarantine is over, H-Town for real. Hey.
H-Town for real.
I appreciate it. All right, Coach Burrell, give me one thing in that playlist.
Well, first of all, you got to understand that we don't do the playlist thing. I just kind of bounce around a bit.
That's cool.
No, lately, honestly, I've been listening to a lot of older music. I've been listening to a lot of music from the 70s and 60s. For some reason, you know, I just where my mindset is right now. I just want to hear, you know, storytelling. You know, I want to hear, you know, things with a little bit more emotion, you know, and make a little bit more sense, you know, lately. So, you know, basically classic R&B, classic soul, you know, that's what I've been listening to a lot lately. You know, I'll flip on when I'm working, honestly, when I'm working, like when I know I'm gonna be around the athletes a lot more, you know, I'll turn on and listen to some more contemporary hip hop, R&B, or whatever. So I'll know what the heck they're talking about. You know, right now, I'm not engaged with them on a ongoing daily basis. So I just kind of have to let my mind get back to where I'm comfortable.
What you on? You on that Lenny Williams, coach? What you on over there? That Commodores? I'm trying to see what you. Put me on something, coach.
You know what? To be honest with you, yesterday I was in the car driving around a little bit, and I was listening to a lot of Michael Jackson. I was on I was on the Michael Jackson channel on Sirius XM. I was listening to a little of that. And oddly enough, for some reason, you know, I was listening to a couple of songs, and I noticed some things. I'm a little older, right? And I kind of know, you know, some of the music some of the little snippets that are being used in some contemporary
samples.
Exactly.
Samples, okay.
From some of the older stuff. And I noticed something in a song, in a couple of songs. And I was like, man, I know I've heard that before.
Right.
And it was actually a Beatles sample. You know, and so a couple of days ago, I said, let me go listen to a couple of these Beatles songs, see where I heard this thing from. And I've actually been trying to kind of find, and so I'm listening, I'm hearing all these little snippets from all of these old Beatles songs. Now, I ain't saying I'm a Beatles fan or anything like that, but that kind of stuff really intrigues me.
It's okay to be a Beatles fan, coach. I ain't judging the Beatles. I like the Beatles, coach.
Yeah.
Coach Lewis, what we got? What you listening to?
Well, when I started music, they didn't have playlists. So, you know what? I guess the easiest way to describe me, I like I'm not, a lot of the new rappers and stuff I don't keep up with, because it seems like there's someone every week. So I'm not fast enough to keep up, but I do like to listen to music. But I guess if there was one band that would kind of encapsulate everyone is the Ozzy Brothers. That's okay. I think you take it from there. The Ozzy Brothers, they were hard. They were taught the the lyrics, and for me, like Marvin Gaye, Shirley Horn, because I love lyrics, and I even like my son loves music, and I know Leroy's son loves music. I'm like, dude, read, get a vocabulary, to tell a story. And so that's I like everything. I love Frank Sinatra. I love Ella Fitzgerald. I love some of the new rap stuff going on. Michael Jackson. I just had that playing the other day. So I'm all of that.
Look at Coach Burrell. Coach Burrell up there like, that's my boy.
Yeah, honestly, I can listen to anything. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because in reality, a lot like what we need to be doing in society. There's been a whole lot of interchange, from different genres. The problem is, and this is, I think, kind of boils down to what we're talking about. Some of the younger kids, they don't know it.
They don't know it. They think these are original cuts. They
exactly.
like,
Ain't nothing original with them. I hate to say it. Original. Y'all think y'all doing something new? No, you're not. As a matter of fact, you guys are a little bit more manufactured than some of the other stuff. There was a lot more creativity going back then. You know,
we try to get them to be curious about, and that's the thing, like whether it's music or anything, just be curious about something other than yourself. Because a lot of times, and you guys know, coaches, that a lot of these kids think the world didn't exist before 2000. I mean, whenever they want to say compare people, they're like, everyone who's running out. I'm like, well, dude, if you're in basketball and you don't mention Bill Russell, then there's no discussion, you know, or in football or Jim Brown, or if you don't do that, then why are we even having a discussion? Because, you know, and it's not even just a matter they paved the way, but because people try to say, well, he has more yards, he has more times. I said, well, you know, people compete against who they compete against. So it's not really how good you are at the end or what you show. It's how dominant were you in your time. And so this is the kind of thing when music is great, because it follows you, it takes you somewhere, and it puts a stamp memory in your brain of where you were at that time. And to me, that's the greatest thing, because when you hear a song, it takes you right back to where you were at that time. And that's the great thing about music. But we just, you know, my thing is just be open and try to be more, because with the sampling and the beats and stuff they do right now, you're right, so much of it been done, and you know they do some good work, but still, just understand.
He like the original. Don't mess up my original version.
Well, and that's the brilliance of it. You know, the talent is great. You have music, you have talent, but the brilliance is the originality that you're going to go. And my thing I always say to the kids, stop. Are you going to want to listen to this song 25 years from now? You know, that's really kind of what it is. So if they're not sure, then just enjoy it and let it go.
that's kind of tough. You say 25 years from now, like, I don't know. Can you imagine Bad and Bougie in 25 years? Coach Scott, what you got? Give me one.
And I got to go with my man Nipsey Hussle, man. I mean, you know, he been, you know, a lot of educational lyrics he's spitting out, man. And also I got my man Kevin Gates, you know, so I got to go back home to Kevin Gates. Still need my shirt, man. I need my shirt.
I got you, bro. Rep the City brand. I got you. Now listen, Coach, before we get out of here, Coach Lewis, it's a guy, and this brother, of course, we work with the brother on Good Morning H-Town. His name is J Mac. Now, J Mac, the Freestyle King, said he think right now, if y'all get out on the track, he think he can beat you in a race, Coach. That's what he told me. He told me to tell you that when this is over, he would love to. Now, I said, J Mac, you know who you're talking to, right? He said he don't care nothing about that. He said he don't even like the Commodores, Coach. He said the Beatles. So he said he won't. All
right. Here's what I'll tell J Mac. I'm all good, but I'll just want to be clear. I haven't run a free race since 11th grade. So
he said 11th grade. You hear that? 11th grade.
11.
Yeah, so in other words, he can't afford it.
Hey, put his money up.
You started a little earlier those days. So you know, make the arrangements, and then we'll be able to set it up.
You know what? I'm gonna have his people call your people.
Well, let me put it to you this way. You know, at a certain point, when you're really good at what you do, you don't get paid for what you're doing. You get paid to show up.
Right. Okay. There you go.
You get paid to show up. All right. So it's called an appearance fee.
so yeah. Have his people call my people and get that appearance fee worked out. I haven't sprinted so long. You know what? I ride a bike. I don't even run anymore. I'll do some stadiums, but now I ride my bike, man. I don't run anymore. It's a wrap.
Listen, he been bike riding, y'all. I didn't even know that it was levels to this bike stuff. Listen, he was like, "Oh no, my bike, I could take the wheel off." I said, "Why? Why are we taking the wheel off, brother?" He like, "No, I ride bikes." He got the little shorts and the helmet and everything. Coach, maybe y'all could do a bike ride. I don't know. I got a regular bike out of Walmart. My bike don't do none of that, brother. I'd be hurting at the end of this bike ride. I'm trying to figure out how to step my bike game up. Definitely appreciate.
Houston's a great bike city, though. They have a lot of stuff going on. I get about 70 miles a week. Yeah, he is it's a great city to ride in. Plus, you know, over near the bayou is really easy.
You said I think my Wi-Fi must have glitched. You said you get 70 miles a week, like 70?
Yeah. I just did 25 yesterday. I was broke down, but I did. Well, the most I've done in one day is 42 miles.
Oh no, we're gonna put you with TT, our boss. She be bike riding for real. Like I'm happy if I do 3 miles, brother. I do 3 miles, it's working out. Thank you, Coach Carey.
Just keep
I
going.
do 3 miles. I be like, my wife be like, baby, I be like, no, baby, no. We did 3. We did 3 miles. You know how much time it takes to ride these bikes? How long it took you to do 25 miles?
Hour and a half.
You know what we could do with an hour and a half, Coach? It's all kind of stuff we can do.
You know what? People call every day and say, what are you doing? I'm like, trying to make today different from yesterday. Okay, there's nothing to do right now. I have no work, no job, no coaching. And so I've got some time. You know, my schedule, my calendar is blank for the future. So I said, let me do something for me during this time. But yeah, it's you know, the thing is that it's funny how we're able to get so much done, and we had no technology, and now they have technology and they can't get anything done. It's just weird how did your day shorten when everything you have to do is easier? So we make it work.
Things that make you go, we still don't know, Coach. I definitely appreciate you brothers' time today. Man, it just says a lot, you know, that you guys would even, you know, be willing to speak up on issues like this when around the country, a lot of our leaders are being quiet about these things, man. So just the fact you brothers would stop what you're doing to jump on with me, I definitely appreciate you. You know, good morning, H-Town 97.9 The Box. Thank you, brothers, for your time. Whenever things get back to regular, listen, I just want to let y'all know, I'm calling y'all for tickets. I'm so tired of sitting in the house. I wouldn't care if y'all play ping pong, thumb wrestle, whatever y'all doing, and people can come. I'm in, Coach. Send me the tickets, man.
All right, come on now.
We're out. H-Town Speed City.
Thank you.
All right,
Hey,
go Cougs.
Right.
whose house?
Cougs.
Peace.
All right, continue.
Thank you, brother.